Okay, in this video I'm going to show you how to cut out the foam. In the last video you showed me mark this out. Well, I marked it, but not only that, I took the piece of paper off and found the little pinholes and drew lines to mark those. And I also drew a red line to mark that that's not a through cut. That's where the elevator is hinged. And so I'm going to do the cutout in two steps. The first thing I'm going to do, and I'm going to cut these out and mark them as I go. So the others are still on here, and I'll just mark them as I go. But the first thing I'm going to do is using a razor knife, but probably a more blunt razor knife because I use it all the time. I'm just going to cut outside the lines a lot, and just to cut this thing out, so it'll make it easier to do the finer cut. Okay. I don't care if I'm straight or not, because I'm just going to make sure I can work on the one individual piece here. Okay. I think it's time to put a new blade even in this one. Okay, so if you use a dull blade, you're going to get a dull result, and I didn't get all the way through on that one. Give me a second to finish cutting this one. Yeah, I'm definitely going to have to put a better blade even than this one. There we go. Alright, so we're going to recut this. The other thing I noted when I was doing the layouts is I stayed away from the edges, because this foam board on the edges, there we go. The foam board on the edges gets dented. Like down here you can see it's crumpled and dented down at that end. And I don't want that to mar the final piece. I'm going to set that aside, and I got to get my better razor blade. I'll be right back. Okay, I'm back, and for this cutout I'm going to use the heavy duty razor blade that came with the Crafty kit. Now this razor blade is actually pretty nice because it has a wheel here, and you can loosen the wheel and then move the razor. But what this does is it allows you to get fine-tune how much of the blade you want hanging out there. Okay, now I'm going to make sure it's out there far enough that I can cut all the way through. Okay, once I know where I want that, I can turn this dial, tighten it up, and you're not limited to the clicks like in regular razor blades. So here we go. Let me check this again. Yep, that'll be fine. Alright, so doing this, I'm going to have to hold this a little steeper, okay, and still hold it tight. But it's much easier to work with something like this and a nice sharp razor blade to do a real good cut. Now there's a real good cut. It's I'll say almost 90 degrees. That's okay. But with a nice new razor blade you get a nice clean cut. I'm going to do a quick cut here just to cut off some excess pieces. And if you've watched any of the videos from Flite Test, save all these little pieces because they're going to come in real handy, especially for cleaning up hot melt glue. So I'm going to cut this one. I forgot one thing. I also have a rotary cutting mat. So this rotary cutting mat I've had for quite a while. And there's a lot of cuts on it, but that's okay. Cutting on the wood is okay, but cutting on the rotary cutting mat will probably save the blade a little more. So it's just a and it's got a grid on it. It's 23 by 11 grid, and so you can get these rotary cutting mats in lots of sizes, and so we'll line this up here, put the ruler down, and use a rotary cutting mat to cut on. Okay. I started off a little bit, but as you can see, the line ended correctly here, but I started off and it angled over, and that was probably because I wasn't holding the ruler tight. So we'll work on that technique. Alright, a little longer cut here. Tell you what, I'm going to do the two shortcuts next. Also, I'm going to put this blade out a little further. One of the things I got a feeling of is that the razors are going to get dull, so you're going to be knocking off pieces of this razor blade all the time, and you'll go through some razor blades. I've also discovered that the blade in this nice handle is the same blade that you get in lots of stores for, so it's a standard size blade, so you can get lots of replacements almost anywhere. Holding this thing vertical, and one of the things that if you get it in the right position, the heavy tip of this blade helps it keep it vertical. And the steel rule is really important. Slow and steady wins the race. Ah, perfect cut. Man, right down the middle of that line. Okay, so there's the cutout. Now, with the smaller detail blade that came with the Crafty kit, I'm going to cut these out in the center and cut the slot. And so that's how you do one. I'm not going to do all of them on camera, but it's certainly you know, slightly off like here. It's not going to matter. The important cuts, and I'll show you this later after I cut them all out, is doing these this cut here where you're not going all the way through. That'll be very handy because you can get the tip to be not penetrating all the way down with this one, because you can infinitely adjust how far out that tip goes, and you can set the tip like that where it's just hanging out a little bit, and you can make those cuts. So I will stop here, cut out the rest of them, and look forward to doing the next video, so stay tuned. Thank you.